All right. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm glad you guys are all here. Thanks for tuning in for our like
Third?
third
Yeah.
live ever.
Yeah.
We have a fun night planned tonight. We're gonna be tasting some interesting stuff. We've got a bunch of
Samples
samples. Yeah.
from Steven.
Yes.
At,
Over at Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. And these are all from Adventurous Stills. So we're going to be kind of tasting some new stuff, and
some new flavors.
yeah, and Steven's going to walk us through it. He was so kind to show up tonight. So without further ado, let's introduce Steven from Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans.
Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing today?
How are you doing, Steven? Thanks for coming tonight.
Good.
Yeah, of course. I'm always game to come on a live stream and talk about whiskey. So,
Awesome. Whoops, I got to turn that down. Hold on.
So wait, Steven, I don't know a ton about where you work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, you probably wouldn't. So we're only in Arizona right now, just because legally with licensing and all, that's a whole new world for me, and I'm barely just getting like my toe in the water. But there's a lot of regulatory things to get into other states. So right now we're just focusing primarily on staying in Arizona, and honestly, even once we get the expansion or like we grow up to the size where we could technically move out of Arizona, I don't even know if the owner and head distiller would want to do that, because we are very much so craft, and I think that's kind of the way he wants to keep it, and I'm all game for that. So we are a local craft distillery here in Arizona. We are, in my opinion, one of the two quality distilleries in Arizona. There's two, obviously I'm a little biased. So, take that as you will, but we do everything grain to glass, focusing primarily on whiskey. We do make other stuff. Like we'll occasionally make tequila or like agave, because we can't call it tequila. So we do like a annual release of a cask strength one, and then we do a Blanco. That's actually what we're currently working on fermenting at the distillery, since it's too hot to ferment whiskey over the summer, because it's like 110 here. So the tequila, like the agave, because basically we get agave syrup from the tequila region in Mexico, and so we'll take it up here, and then we ferment it here, and it takes like 2 to 3 weeks to actually fully ferment, where we can then distill it. So we do it during the hot times when we don't actually want to be distilling.
Yeah, cool.
But we do gin, vodka, basically to stock up the bar and whatnot, and kind of sell off a little bit to people. But again, we're primarily a craft grain and glass whiskey distillery, and we kind of focus on doing things outside of the traditional realm of whiskey per se. So a lot of our stuff is a little different. Out of the ones we have here today, I mean, 3 of these are very kind of out of the traditional whiskey realm. The first one I'll have you guys try is a little bit more stereotypical for kind of the Southwest aging style, because it is 100% corn whiskey. And honestly, that's my personal favorite right now, just because it's...
Is this the Blue Ridge?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
But that's basically what we do. We're a small time local craft distillery here in Arizona.
Right on. Well, there's a certain charm to being craft and kind of staying that way as well. So I think that's really cool that, like, even if given the opportunity, you might just stay crafty and small. And there's something to be said for that, for sure.
Yeah. Like the only other distillery here that I think is worth their salt has just recently, they've expanded outside of Arizona. Del Bach, I don't know if you've heard of them. They make like mesquite smoked single malts and whatnot. They're in Tucson, Arizona, but they recently started expanding, and they released a rye just to kind of meet with the needs of, needing to expand and needing to get product out. Their rye is just a 95.5 MGP rye that's in their mesquite cask barrel. So it's kind of like, it's disappointing, because in order to expand out that far, they really had to, for lack of a better word, sell their soul, in my opinion.
Yeah.
some crappy. I mean, it's not crappy. It's 95.5 MGP rye.
Right.
Right here, actually, I like the bottle, but there's nothing special about it. Whereas the malts are actually special.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny that you get into the MGP stuff and it is good. But I think there's a certain respect for companies who are making their own stuff and putting it out and taking the time and the care to do that. So for sure, that's definitely an admirable quality.
Yeah, it's way easier to just press the easy button and
Yeah.
have it sourced
Yeah.
instead of making your
Yeah.
own stuff. I mean,
Now, having said that, I would take a bottle of Doc Swinson's any day. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I literally just recently purchased. It's the sherry finish release from 2023, the exploratory cast. I forgot what it was named. It's probably the best finished bourbon I've ever had. At least like MGP finished bourbon, because it's all around that same age limit.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind the other day.
I don't know if you saw the Bourbon Notes hunting video. It came out today, but Ben got a Jamaican rum finished bourbon from Doc Swinson. It's one of the exploratory ones. Or it was a rye. I'm sorry. It was a rye. And he actually didn't realize it was a rye until he got it home. But now he was real excited because he heard that the rum finished ryes are real good. So
yeah, they sent me some samples, and every single one of them I either thought was really interesting or I absolutely loved to the point where I wanted to buy a bottle. I just never got around to buying them until they recently came here, and now I'm buying all the exploratory casks. Like there's another one. It's like Amberanda wood finish or whatever. I have no idea what kind of wood that is.
Yeah,
but it's like $75 and next month. So in about 4 days, I am going back there and buying that one as long as it's still on the shelf.
I think the Amberana is like the stuff that the Penelope Rio is finished on, and it gives it that cinnamon toast crunch. Like that's what everybody uses to describe it. And that definitely intrigues me, but I haven't found the Rio anywhere around here. So
yeah, we'll look for the exploratory casks.
Yeah, for sure. I will. All right. So this is the Blue Ridge 27-month 100% blue corn whiskey, 59.8%.
Yeah, so this is our most recent limited edition offering. So it's 100% blue corn, 59.8%, 27 months in new charred new American oak. So technically, legally, we can consider it a bourbon, but I like calling it a corn whiskey. And yeah, it's so this one's fun because, like I said, we like to try like grain to glass, stay as local as possible. So this one is the only one of our whiskeys, to my knowledge. Again, I'm very new to the whole distilling end of it. I've been a brand ambassador for us for 2 years, but I'm just now kind of stepping my toe into the more production side of everything.
Okay.
But that is I think the only one of our products that is 100% sourced grain wise from Arizona. So we source about 95% of our grains, but we do use a lot of specialty grains, or obviously not a lot, 5%, but we do use enough where we can't entirely source just from Arizona. Actually, some of our grains come from like Germany and whatnot. I
really like that. It's really sweet.
It has the strength of a corn whiskey too.
Yeah, definitely. I actually think I like this better. A few weeks ago, Sean had sent us from Whiskey War, sent us the Balcones True Blue, and it was the cask strength blue corn. And I actually think this one drinks a little lighter and a little sweeter, and it's nice. It's like for a high proof bourbon, I think I could drink this in the summer, no problem.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Balcones does a little weird, in my opinion, because it's a love it or hate it. Balcones has a signature like motor oil. This is the most intense whiskey ever type vibe to it on basically all of their cask strength stuff. Like I have a blue corn over there that I absolutely love, but it's very much so their style and all their single malts. They finish them or they age them for about like 4 years, and they are dark. They're heavy, where this is a lot more subtle. This is more of an everyday pour, where those are kind of like oh, hey, this is a Friday night type thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. I really like that a lot. I'm gonna just real quick see who's in the chat while we're starting here. Dave Vogelsang. Dave, how you doing? You got a package coming your way. Hopefully it gets there in the next couple of days. Sugar Kitty, hello. Stacy at Four Leaf Whiskey is here. Ben from Bourbon Note, Bobby, Bad X Bourbon. I think I said Sugar Kitty. Let's see who else we got here. I did see another name Wingman. Cheers from North Carolina. Hey, Wingman, how you doing? That's a new name. I haven't seen that name.
Me either.
Yeah, like and subscribe, Wingman. But thanks for watching. Yeah, we're you're going to Ireland in a couple of days.
I am.
And I know you got some tips from Stacy, right?
I did. Yeah, I have them written down in my purse.
Right
I'm
on.
ready to take them and
She's definitely the one to ask.
go
for
on
sure.
the search.
Yeah.
Yes.
She is the subject matter expert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. The blue corn, actually, the more you drink it, that like there was kind of a youthful note at the beginning, but the more you drink it, that really mellows out and you get that nice sweet corn flavor.
I really like
that's
it.
that's a really nice sip.
Yeah, it gets very fruity,
Yeah.
kind of like peach for me.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, I've got a nice like Pop Rocks buzz going on.
Pop
right
Rocks,
now.
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
This is probably our most, we'll call stereotypical bottle because like I said, we like to kind of color outside the line. So this is a little bit more of a, hey, this is a mass production. Just like we're not going to try today, but our single malt, it's finished in X rye barrels, but it's not very much so like crazy weird flavors going on or like intense, like, oh, hey, that's very different. It's more kind of very light, easy, simple.
I could see it being like a very good like training wheels whiskey for somebody, even at the higher proof. I think it's very accessible.
Yeah, I have this at 95 proof here because this was our limited edition cash strength. I got 2 of these, and then we batched a few bottles together, and then we proofed it down to 95. And honestly, like batch to batch or barrel to barrel, they were very similar, so there wasn't a lot of variance. So just imagine this with a little bit of water in it. It's a great daily drinker right now.
Nice. All right. So next up, which one would you go next? We've got the Peralta bourbon, we've got the Syrah cask, and we've got the Cherry Bomb rye.
Okay. First, let's start. Oh man. Let's do the Syrah cask finish bourbon.
33-month-old, 55.3% Syrah finished bourbon. Now I will tell you, Sean at Whiskey War sent us remember that Balcones Cabernet finish? Oh my God, it was so good.
It was really good.
It was so like you got the whiskey right up front and then it finished like one of those like real rich red blends at the end. It was wild.
So one thing I would like to kind of get into, because I just recently did this with the Bourbon Note guys last week. Obviously, yeah, you guys were there. But what's your experience with Texas whiskey? Because that's the closest thing I can compare Arizona to, is kind of that Texas. I call it like Southwest aging style, where it's hot, it's dry, things like age super rapid. Everything's still relatively kind of crafty. Like the only ones to really grow big enough right now have been Still Austin, Balcones, as we've mentioned multiple times, and Iron Root is now getting up in there, and they're my personal favorite for bourbons and corn whiskey. I don't know if you've ever had their corn whiskey, but Hubris is absolutely fantastic.
Okay,
I can handle examples.
We've had limited. I mean, we like Still Austin.
Yeah, we got a bottle of the Still Austin cask strength that we like. It's different for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it is.
But it is good. Like I know Ben and Greg do not like Texas whiskey at all.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I mean, it's back here somewhere. We've put a hurting on it for sure.
I don't have a ton of experience with it.
I think the only other ones we had were the Balcones that Sean gave us.
Yeah.
He gave us a single malt. He gave us, and I misspoke. It wasn't a bourbon that was Cabernet finish. It was a blue corn. So it was the True Blue Cabernet finish.
Mhm.
And then he gave us a True Blue cask strength. And I honestly think those might be the only ones we've had besides the Boomtown from, oh, shoot. I have it down here. What is that?
Yeah, the Boomtown was pretty sharp.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. Old Humble.
Mhm.
He's on YouTube. But we had theirs, and that one was a little youthful for me. But like the ones that kind of people in general have kind of liked. We liked the Still Austin, and we liked a couple of the Balcones. We did not like the single malt. Do you remember if you liked the single malt?
No, I don't remember, but they're different.
Yeah, definitely for sure different.
Even in Texas, Balcones, I feel like, is on another level compared to a lot of the other Texas distilleries.
Yeah. But Dave Ogilsang says I like the Still Austin cask strength, which yes, it's good. And the Belfour. I have not gotten the Belfour yet. Have you had the Belfour yet, Stephen?
No, I don't think I've heard of that. I know Texas is difficult because it's so hard to find a lot of the stuff outside of like those three I just mentioned. Those are the only three with like real expansion here. And the reason I have a bunch of the Iron Root limited edition stuff, which you can't find at like Total Wines and whatnot here, is because I know their brand manager and one of the guys in the local Arizona whiskey community. He goes there all the time because he's really close with the actual distillers and the family who runs the business. So I'm like, hey, deliver it to me.
Yeah.
So I've been able to get some distillery only bottles, which I'm lucky for because they're the greatest stuff ever. I'll have to send you guys some hand deliver you some samples after this.
That's the key. Hand deliver. Yeah, Dave, that stuff will be hand delivered to you. I did not mean package. My fault. So the Belfour is actually Eddie Belfour, who was a goalie back in the 90s for the Chicago Blackhawks. And it was one of the first hockey jerseys I ever bought was Eddie Belfour. Yeah. And I haven't tried it yet, but it's like a pecan wood finished I think it's like finished on pecan wood or something. It's a bourbon. They make a bourbon. I think they also make a rye. It comes in a nice square bottle. It's kind of studded. Like it's a very beautiful bottle. It's like for a bourbon to just go out and try, it's a little pricey. It's up around $70 or $75. And that for me is like a hard sell when I haven't had it at all. Like I'd have to try it first before I drop down the money on that. But I have heard good things about it. So we'll see. Maybe it'll end up on the shelf someday.
I'm looking into this after this.
Okay, 100%. Yeah. He was a killer goalie. I went and saw him in Buffalo once. He was a monster. He was a great goalie. Eddie the Eagle, they called him. Yep.
Pecan bourbon has my interest peaked, to say.
You're intrigued?
Yeah. That sounds great.
All right. So I after nosing this one, you definitely are you getting like the red wine note off of it?
Yeah. And I don't know if I like it.
One thing I do need to mention. So this is our actual real bourbon mash bill. So our bourbon mash bill is a little bit different than typical bourbon mash bill, as we use 2% of it has this chocolate malt in it. And that's one of those specialty grains that we use. So it's going to make this like very chocolatey, roasty, kind of malty bourbon flavor profile.
I think that's fun. Yeah.
With this one on top of that, it's also finished in Syrah, which is a very heavy red wine cask.
Yeah.
So it's an intense bourbon to just kind of casually really jump in from flavor. This.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor going on in here. And I will tell you one thing that I get on the Still Austin. As you were saying that, I was like sitting here like kind of breathing and trying to get the flavors. And I definitely got the chocolate. But I also get this out of the Still Austin cask strength, like a peppery flavor, like almost like an earthy jalapeno flavor.
Yeah. Like, you know how that you can buy the chocolate with cayenne pepper in it?
Yes.
It's kind of that flavor.
I like this one. There's definitely an earthy note to it for sure.
This is one of those bourbons where I'm like, okay, I like tasting it. I don't know if I would buy a bottle of it because it's quite a unique taste. It's not
reminds
like anything I've had.
It reminds me a lot of the Still Austin cast strength
Mhm.
with an added dimension of sweetness from the Syrah finish.
Mhm.
I like this one, but again, I'm sitting here comparing it to Still Austin, and not everybody likes it, you know. So I mean,
Yeah,
that
very
could be
much so.
divisive,
Mhm.
but so Bobby says, I'll say that I haven't had anything from Garrison Brothers or Balcones that I've liked. I haven't had Garrison Brothers. That's another one where it's like if it's $100 and some
They're
dollars a
so
bottle.
Oh, I haven't even
overpriced.
seen it.
I've had a
Yeah.
sample of the Guadalupe or whatever one of their limited edition ones that's like 200, 250 or something like that. I had a sample for like $18. Or like I had a pour at a bar and I was like, I really like this bottle. I would pay like 100, maybe 120 for it, but I'm not going over that price for this just because at $250, I can buy so much more like Kentucky bourbon that's
Yeah.
Mhm.
also really freaking great. Like I can buy multiple Doc Swinson. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable with spending over like 120 is like my new peak for
Yeah.
buying whiskey nowadays. And even at that point, like it takes me a lot to get over 80.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel like the longer we do this, your palate changes and you're like, like what does this taste like?
Yeah.
And we've kind of talked about going above our
It's
price
gone
point
up a
little
little bit. Yeah. When we started, we were like $75 and that's it. But that is definitely kind of edged up towards 100 probably.
Oh, yeah, around 100.
Yeah.
It
I
has to
think
be something special to get you
Yeah.
over that 100 mark.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I do think in general there are exceptions to the rule, but I think in general you really do start to get diminishing returns. Like
Oh, yeah,
over
especially when there's
$100.
so many good under 40,
Right.
Even under 50 bottles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This I like this one. I still
This is very
have
unique. I don't know.
I still have the chocolate
Yeah.
on my palate right now.
Also,
that is I like
don't
that.
hesitate to be 100% honest and don't hold anything back. The only thing I hate more than like complete negative feedback is people not sharing their actual opinions and all. Like this is, again, our stuff is very unique, so it's not for everyone. I don't take that personal. Like I was really surprised what the Bourbon Note guys said about it because they didn't say anything negative, and I expected a lot of negativity, saying as how they're not really into this kind of stuff, but they really liked it again. And so don't feel like you have to hold anything back.
No,
because
we don't. When you see our Blue Note video that'll come out in a couple weeks, you'll know we don't really hold anything back. We just kind of say what we feel. So Bourbon Note Ben said that Arizona whiskey pulls down Texas whiskey's pants and takes his lunch money. So you obviously got a convert out of him.
I know. I really
Texas whiskey.
I feel like I really need to give him some Texas whiskey samples because I like the statement. Obviously, I'm pro that. That being said, I feel like he hasn't really had the opportunity to get good Texas bourbon because there is some great Texas whiskey out there.
Yeah, and I think I heard him say on a live recently they still haven't tried the Still Austin Cast Strength. So I think that is one that you would need to try before you make a blanket determination on Texas whiskey. I think that's one you've got to go try.
That's like the easy entrance into Texas bourbon, because it's the way I like to describe that is there's Texas and then there's Kentucky whiskey. And then this is kind of where Still Austin lives. It lives obviously more in that Texas realm, and it is 100% Texas whiskey. But I just feel like they definitely borrow quite a bit of that, like Indiana MGP, Kentucky bourbon type flavor. Like it's not super Texasy, where some Texas stuff can just get super insanely weird.
Yeah. And I think they got a cast strength rye coming out soon, so I wouldn't mind trying that.
You should try that.
And I haven't had the standard rye or bourbon either. I've only had the cast strength bourbon, so I'd like to try some of their other stuff for sure.
Cast strength bourbon's definitely better than the lower proof bourbon. I mean, they're very much so on par. I want to try the red corn one because I've just recently had red corn whiskey, because we have, just like we have this Blue Ridge, we have a cask of red corn that's about a year-ish old right now, and I just tried it. It's super interesting compared to like this blue corn, super sweet. That is like a
Yeah.
spicy corn. It
Yeah.
is somehow, it tastes like there's rye in the mash bill.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously super youthful and whatnot because it's only a year old, but
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
peppery.
Yeah. And Dave Vogel saying, so you would not buy Russell's Reserve 13 since it's 159. Lauren, you
Nope.
buying it?
No.
Nope. No, absolutely not.
No.
And I will tell you, I've heard people say it's great. Like people love it, but I'll never know unless I have a sample or whatever. I just can't see myself spending that on.
That's two Doc Swenson's exploratory cast to me.
Yeah. Right. Like think of the great bourbon, 2 or 3 bottles of great bourbon you can buy for that price.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to make that decision on something you're just going to consume. Like we're not collectors.
No, it doesn't fit with the ethos of
No.
our channel. I mean,
And
it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah. And a bottle of bourbon doesn't really last long with us. So we're going to consume it.
God. You're telling me.
So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to make that call. I'm sure it's a great bourbon, but I've got, again, this is according to my palate, according to Lauren's palate. We've got plenty of great bourbons here that we didn't spend $159 on. So we're at peace not having that even ever.
I think with the exception of the Old Forester.
Oh yeah. This here was the one that like broke our rule. Because
it broke everybody's rules.
But
it violated all of us, and we enjoyed every moment of it.
It just destroyed our morals. But I had to have this. So actually, Ben got that. That's a store pick from out in Minnesota, and he grabbed me that.
Those are great.
Oh, it was damn
phenomenal.
Good.
If I never get another one again, I'm happy that I got this. All right.
I think on average, most of my whiskey is around that $60 range.
Yeah.
I have some that are 100 plus that are like American single malts because in that world you have to pay like around $100 to get cash strength stuff. But like basically everything else, if it's a bourbon, I'm spending at most maybe like $80. But after that, I'm like, it has to be something super special or I have to have a level of invested interest into it.
Right. If it's something you love.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
I'm not hesitant about that. But most of my stuff that I love is below 50.
Yes. Loved it, Ben. It's fantastic. We just actually did a review today. So that should be coming out probably next week, Ben. You'll see that. It's and honestly, the first time I cracked it, I was like, man, I don't know. But this was one of the first bottles that I really like. I subscribed to that, like, let it open up, let it get some air and all that stuff.
Amazing.
And it was great. Like today, this has been probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks since I cracked it. And it was fantastic. It was great. So,
all right. What do we got next?
Yeah. So we've got the Peralta bourbon and we've got the cherry bomb.
So we'll do the Peralta bourbon. So this one is a very special bourbon for us because this is our oldest whiskey of all time and it's likely going to be the oldest whiskey we have unless something goes poorly. Just because this is a 4-year-old cash strength Peralta bourbon that we made. So our bourbon's just Peralta. That's what we call it. Same exact mash bill as the previous Syrah cask one. This one's just unfinished in Syrah cask, but it's also significantly older as that one I think was old like 2 years and then it went into Syrah cask and this is 4 years old. Because a majority of our whiskey is around 2 to 3 years old. Like 2 is the minimum. 3 is usually kind of the peak of it. It's just some of the stuff stays in casks a while. So that's kind of where this one kind of spiraled out of control. But the Angel Share at 4 years old was just unbelievable. So it's not really a smart financial or business decision. So that's why I don't think we'll ever be doing anything this old ever again.
Really?
I absolutely love this. And one thing I would like to say, this is subsequently our most expensive bottle. But at that point, it was only $90. Which I know we're talking about like, oh, the price points and all. But one thing that kind of scares a lot of people away from craft whiskey is that it's all ridiculously overpriced typically.
Yes.
Whereas a
Yeah,
lot of
90's
our
not
stuff,
bad for
yeah,
for
for the most special bottle we've ever made,
Mhm.
$90, I think it's very reasonable. A lot of our stuff is typically around the 60 to 70, sometimes 80 if it requires finishing casts and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's a bourbon, a bourbon distillery or a whiskey distillery made by whiskey distillers or made by whiskey consumers. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like we try to keep it very reasonable and stick
Yeah.
to our bases rather than
Oh,
we're
90
not
bucks
trying
is
to.
pretty darn good.
I think
Yeah.
it's fair.
Yes.
I
For your
think
high-end
I think you're right,
bottles.
Steven. Yeah, like when you talk about craft whiskey, you're
Mhm.
going to pay a little more.
Yes.
And the most important thing is it a quality bottle? Is
Mhm.
it something
Mhm.
that you want to drink? So
And we're gonna test that out
this
right
looks,
now.
it actually looks kind of heavy to me, like a little more viscous,
It
and
is
it's
dark.
That is
Yeah,
dark.
so this is 4 years old and it's 66.5% ABV. And I believe it was in a 30-gallon cask off the top of my head, because that would have been right around the time that we transferred to starting to use more 30-gallon casks. And that's the only reason it was able to,
Oh, that's good.
sit there for 4 years.
All right, this has been
Oh.
my favorite so far.
Holy cow.
Really good.
That is so.
I'm getting a lot of maple flavor.
Yeah,
Are
like
you?
maple and brown sugar. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are absolutely right, Ben.
Mhm.
Peralta bourbon is
That
a
is
banger.
really good.
Yeah.
That is. Oh,
It packs a punch, but it's like
that
tons of
almost.
flavor.
Yes, it almost has a double oaked kind of
Mhm.
Mhm.
flavor profile to it.
Yeah, it's
I mean-
so much barrel char in this one.
Yeah, that is fan. Here, you can have some,
Mm.
producer. It's right there. The producer
Oh, yeah,
wants
I
to.
can taste
My
the char.
wife is our
It's so
producer, and she
good.
is a huge double oak fan. So when I said double
Okay.
oak, she was
She's
like,
on it.
"Ooh."
She's sampling
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
I
that's
never really thought of this as like a double oaked, but I 100% get what you mean by it. Definitely has that same, just like so much oak and barrel char sweetness that you
Yeah.
typically find in a double oak because it spends so much time in that oak.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Dang, that's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
It's almost
She agrees.
like
Delicious.
it's like a dessert bourbon to me. It has a beautiful sweetness, but the heat is perfect.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
Same old Moses.
It does. Yeah, it's not as spice heavy.
I don't know if you have this
but-
out by you or if it's like available widely, but there was we had a viewer send us a bottle from Wanderfolk Spirits. It was called Same Old
Was that
Moses.
Oklahoma?
It was in Missouri. I think.
Missouri. Okay.
Maybe Oklahoma. No, I think you're
I think
right.
it was
Oklahoma. And it had a very similar profile to this, and it was so unique and so different from just your typical bourbon. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Mhm.
And this really kind of falls in line with that.
Yeah.
That is
It's
a
really
unique
distinctive.
and really good bourbon.
That is now another bourbon I need to look up after this.
Yeah. It was and this one was a
Adding
double
notes.
oaked one. The Same
Okay.
Old Moses was double oaked. And that's what's crazy about this is that it has that richness of flavor, but
Mhm.
it's not double oaked.
Mhm.
And that is.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Really
so
good.
like I said, our traditional mash bill for our bourbon has that chocolate malt. So for me, it's not an everyday kind of drinker where it's like that Blue Ridge, that could be an everyday drinker. It's sweet, it's easy. Our bourbons are very desserty, if you will.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
to me, it's not an everyday kind of thing. But sometimes when I'm looking for something super desserty, that's what I'll gravitate towards.
Oh yeah, well
And-
that's what we said about Same Old Moses. It was
Yeah.
not something that's like an everyday drinker, but something that's more of a special occasion. Our producer said you can eat it with a Christmas cookie,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
a
yeah.
spice cookie.
You're not going to have 2 or 3
Yeah.
pours of it, but it's
No.
nice, like,
It's
especially at this proof,
Yeah,
it's a nice end of the night pour for sure.
Yes, yes. Oh, I really liked this. This is
Mm.
very good.
You're going to have to hand deliver me some of that.
Unfortunately, I cannot at this moment. That being said, so this is going to be the most intense version of it, but I'm sure we'll be releasing one here in like probably 3 months.
Okay.
So again, it's not going to be as oaky and intense as this one
Mhm.
is, because this one's 4 years old, where I think the ones we currently have around that are coming up to be ready are around that 3-year-old mark,
Yeah.
because we got a lot of bourbon casks. We just bottled some that we proofed down, and I tried it before we proofed it down, and I liked it better than this one because
Okay.
it wasn't as heavy with the barrel char, so it lost a little bit of that, we'll call that double oaked influence.
Okay.
But I think it was a little bit more kind of vibrant, if you will, which makes sense with
Mhm.
less age. But I
Yeah.
kind of, me personally, I preferred it like that because this is so intense. This is, I'm having one pour of this as a dessert pour, and I'm done with this
Yeah.
for the night, because I can't drink anything more than
Yeah.
this after that.
So
'Cause it's
so this
intense.
this new one will be kind of brighter as opposed to
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
darker notes. Okay.
Yeah, but same here.
Okay.
Hmm.
All
It
right.
will be 100%. So this is batch 3. This was a previous one to this. I don't know. This one's before my time
Mhm.
of working at all in the production side. I don't even think I was a
Oh.
brand manager or a brand representative for us when we came out with this. I was just
Mhm.
a huge consumer, because I've been a huge consumer for like the last 3 years. This was the first bottle of ours that I bought on the day of my birthday, like 3 years ago, when I got super schlammered there. I
Yeah.
think I got that for like $55. That was, before everything went insane.
Right. I like the bottles are very nice too. I actually went to the site to get the picture for the thumbnail. It's actually a very nice site, very nice branding. I think it's kind of the whole thing is like cool look. Hello, Ben from Whiskey Uncensored Bourbon. Yeah, I know exactly why that is. Because the last live stream we did, I think I forgot to shout him out, and he was like, "Oh, but not me." So, hello, Ben from Whiskey Uncensored. Thank you for being here. We really, really appreciate it.
Look, after a few
Welcome.
drinks, sometimes it's
Hello,
hard to keep
hello.
up with everything.
Yeah, yeah. Say hello to Ben. Holy cow! You got a cheers. All we got is I guess Brian and Mr. Tipsy in chat. See where we rate, Steven.
But yeah, the batch 3, the previous one of this, I would say it's more vanilla-y, a little bit
Okay.
more chocolatey, a little bit more of that coffee roasty flavor profile, and it
Okay.
lost some of that like super oak and char, but it
Mhm.
replaced it with like a little bit of like I would say like a graham crackeriness.
Mhm.
But again,
Cool.
same general concept. So yeah, next time we get that, I'll hand deliver some your way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll work that out for sure. So our last one we have here is Cherry Bomb Rye. It says
Ooh,
Cherry
yes.
Wood Smoked Rye, 59.15. This one intrigues me. Are you
Yes.
intrigued?
I'm ready for cherry.
So
Are you
I'll
ready
be
for
honest.
smoked
Cherry
cherry?
bomb.
Mash Bill,
No.
forgot. Don't remember what this one, because this is one of our limited editions.
Okay.
I'm actually drinking a different batch than you guys are, but I mean, they're very similar, so it shouldn't matter, because I killed the bottle I sent out to you when I
Okay.
sent it out to the Bourbon Note guys, because I sent you guys first, and then they took the last little bit, and then I just kind of finished like the minuscule, like half of a pour that night. So
Mhm.
this is a different batch, but these are our special releases. So we have a club release that we do, and then special releases where that's where you'll see our, the Peralta bourbon, and I think the Syrah cast was a special release too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a rye that we cherry wood smoked.
Okay. Now I expected to get a bunch of smoke off the nose, but I'm really not.
No, but
It's
if you know
subtle.
you're looking for that cherry scent, I get it.
I've never had any kind of finished or smoked rye. I've had a couple of smoked bourbons, but we're kind of new to rye, so this is going to be
I think I'm
definitely a
gonna
new
love it.
experience. You think you're
Yeah.
going to love it?
Look, if you all are interested in doing another pour, we can also get into the rye, because our other cash strength rye is a little bit more of a traditional actual rye, where I think this one it's softer because I think we used a little bit more wheat.
Yeah.
You don't entirely quote me on that, because again, I've forgotten what the mash bill is, because again, this hasn't been on shelves for a hot minute. But
The cherry's very subtle. I mean, it's not. You're
Smoke.
not. The smoke kind of overwhelms the cherry a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But I still get the cherry on the scent or on the nose. Sorry, not using proper.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
We get what you're saying.
And a little bit on the aftertaste. I get the afterbirth.
Okay,
You
Michael
get it?
Scott.
Yeah,
Um,
I get.
I definitely-
but
yeah.
it's very subtle.
I definitely get some smoke, and you are right. It definitely is soft.
Mhm.
And it's funny. We did today we did a review of the Green River and the Green
Right.
River
Mhm.
weeded.
Wheat.
And there was such
not
a
right, we did, yeah.
difference when you got to the weeded.
Yeah.
Everything on your palate was just so much lighter,
Yeah,
and it didn't just like hit you, and it was
what
a totally
they say
different.
is true.
Yeah, and that was something I said it on the video. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't like, everybody says it's softer and blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
that was the first time where I really
Yeah.
experienced
Mhm.
that kind of softness to it. And I
Mhm.
actually am getting that from this as well.
I like it.
Yeah, this one to me, I get like a giant burst of like an artificial cherry, and then it like very quickly smooths off into this nice, like kind of smoky spice with like a little
Yep.
bit of a cherry accent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Yeah,
I'm still
it's
getting the smoky aftertaste,
Yeah.
the cherry flavor.
you definitely get some heat and spice up front, and then
Mhm.
that smoke in the middle of your palate
Yeah.
really kind of hits.
That's
It's
good.
it's a nice one. Yeah,
But it doesn't turn too far in one direction either, where it's like
Right.
this. I could
No.
drink this all. I've gone through 4 of these bottles, so I've
Mhm.
drinking like a third of one in one night by myself, which was kind of a problem. With this being 62% ABV.
Wow.
Well, but I appreciate it because it's not sometimes with the flavored stuff, it hits you over the head
Yeah.
and it
Mhm.
tastes artificial.
Yeah.
This does not give you that
Right.
at all.
Right.
I mean, it's very natural tasting.
Yep.
It's very
I agree.
subtle.
And it's this is one that I could see as being like a really nice campfire sipper.
Oh yeah.
Like just sitting outside, maybe on a cooler night,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
just like sipping that by the campfire. That I mean,
It is
you could
smoky.
easily go
Mhm.
through a good amount of that. Maybe not a whole bottle, but close. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, like a third,
Yeah,
a solid third.
Hey,
I feel like
Gandy
a
Road.
half of cash strength is too much.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Mhm.
Gandy Road. Welcome. That's okay.
Mhm.
A gentleman always arrives exactly what he means to. So you are exactly on time.
Is that a thing?
That's Gandalf.
Oh.
I'm quoting Lord of the Rings
Sorry.
here. How bad could I nerd out?
Okay. I should have known that.
No, you're not a nerd.
No, I am.
All right. So yeah, you said we could, if we did one more, which one would it be?
So
The
you should
Dutchman?
try the Lost Dutchman and rye then.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna rinse. Do you have any
Alright, I
water
can
left?
rinse.
Just gonna
I'm
rinse
Did
a
I write
glass
down
there.
what the percentage of the one I sent you was?
Yeah, that's 47.5. So this is just a straight up rye, no finish, nothing funny happened. with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So this is actually one of our production ones. And I
Okay.
remember when I was doing this, because we have a cash strength version of this or store pick. So again, another one of the bottles before I was working, there was a local store that did a store pick of our rye. It's not my favorite of our cash strength ryes, but
Okay.
I still have that, and I purposely didn't send it to you because I know you guys aren't super heavy into the ryes yet, so I didn't want to kind of blow your mind with something a little bit too spicy, because I know cash strength ryes can be a lot to go into when you're used to drinking bourbons.
Yeah, it's rye. We're babies when it comes to rye. We
I think I like them a little bit more than you do.
Yeah, definitely. I am all about like the sweetness and the brown sugar and the caramel and the vanilla and all that stuff. And you
He's a
just
bourbon traditionalist.
yeah, you don't get as much of that with a rye. So although I will say we did this one. This was our first rye that we
Is that
like
Pipe
reviewed
Dream?
and tried. Yeah, the Pipe Dream
Or
is the
Emerald
bourbon. This is
Giant.
the Emerald Giant. Yeah. And that was a good one. I thought this was a very good like starter bourbon or starter rye. Like it was still very sweet and mild, and I thought it was a good way to get into rye. But we're gonna try some others. I've got a Sazerac store pick back here that we'll probably get into, and a couple others.
I
But
see that.
yeah,
You should
But,
try this one. This
right.
is one of my favorite like go-to starter ryes if you can find it. It's kind of hard, but again, a very
Oh,
different kind of rye mash bill, but
yeah.
20
No, I've not
bucks.
seen that.
So
$20.
Evans had
I
it.
haven't
Yep.
had it.
So one of the
Oh,
stores I
wow.
went to, we did a bourbon hunt video today. It came out, and one of the stores that I went to had the Old Forester rye, and
They
I
have
didn't
the
buy it,
complete
but
collection.
oh yeah, that
I
was
mean,
crazy. This
of
store,
everything.
like, it had the entire line of everything. Like, they had like 10 different Old Foresters and like 8 different
I've
Woodfords.
never
And
seen that before.
it was, yeah, you could tell that
Never.
the owner of this store does like, I want every bottle of Woodford I can get, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, he tries to collect everything.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
or Sagamore Spirits. Again, they're just MGP,
Oh, we've got that.
but this is
You
incredible.
finish that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my 2 buddies. Now Lauren has had that. I bought a bottle of that and we did try it.
Mhm.
And then
It's upstairs.
no, it's gone.
No,
It's got olive oil in it
olive
now.
oil in it. That's what I was
Because
gonna
I love the
say.
bottle.
Like,
I put
I've seen
olive
it.
oil in it, but
There's
me and
I
no
2
turned
other
the
more
lamp
left.
into it.
Yeah.
yeah, me and 2 other guys finished probably 3/4 of a bottle in an evening. It was good though. It's very good. It's super sweet. Super
Yeah.
sweet.
And it's
right,
lower proof,
right.
so it's just
Yeah.
it's crushable.
Yep. All right. So Lost Dutchman rye.
Yeah, so let me try to go through the Rolodex to talk about the mash bill. So
Okay.
off the top of my head, I believe it's 90% rye, 5% caramelized rye, which is that's the grains that we get from Germany, and then it is another 5% wheat. So there's
Okay.
no corn or anything in this. So the caramelized rye adds a sweetness, and the wheat like
Yeah.
softens it up. So it
Mhm.
makes it approachable and not kind of
Oh.
overwhelming for a rye. Where
Steven, I'm
typically you'll find
getting
that.
like a lot of fruity, citrusy
Mm.
notes on the back. You don't
Yeah.
like it?
I don't know yet. I'm going to try another one.
Yeah,
You
no,
never
I'm
forget
getting
your first. You are right, Dave. You never forget your first.
I'm getting like a fruit salad on the back half. No?
So, okay. No. I'm trying to like decide what I'm tasting. It's not,
No, I'm not telling you what to taste, Brian.
this has like remember we talked,
I'm
remember
trying
we
to see
talked
where
about,
you're going with that.
remember when we talked about like the cornbread versus wheat bread
Yeah,
versus rye bread thing?
Yeah.
And that's like, this is one that I'm definitely getting that rye bread kind of flavor to.
Okay, but aren't you getting some of the fruit and the sweetness of it?
Sweetness, yes. Fruit, no.
Fruit. You're not.
But I've got a
fruity.
terrible
You're not
palate.
Fruity. Oh, well, that's too bad.
To me, it's spicy and like floral. It's peppery and then has like this like floral kind of quality to it. The sweetness, but I kind of see where you're going with the fruitiness. To me, my mind thinks floral, but I
Mhm.
could pick up like some red fruits on the back end
Yeah,
or
yeah.
towards the end.
I'm getting fruit.
It's definitely a rye. Like, you would not mistake this for a bourbon.
Oh yeah.
I think it's good. Like, again, it's not my flavor profile that I gravitate towards.
Mhm.
But if you put this in front of me and we're like, hey, try this rye, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is terrible. It's absolutely drinkable. It's
Mhm.
definitely good. I mean, I've had some bourbons that I cannot drink because they're
Right,
terrible.
but
And
what's
this
the
one,
reason why we do this? Because
Yeah.
we want to taste all these different,
yeah,
unique.
I think it's very good. I think it's
Yeah.
very good.
This is also very low key compared to what we've been going to. Cause I'm like, man, to me as a brand ambassador for us, and I'm going full time with us and whatnot in the very near future. So
Oh,
excited.
nice.
But to me, it's very, I don't want to say boring, but it lacks intensity when we've been
Mhm.
going through like the intense cash strength stuff. And I know I sent it to you guys just because you're not super duper heavy in a rise, but like
Right.
going from like the cherry bomb to this, I'm like, oh man, I want this cranked up to 11.
Yeah. But I do think for people like us who aren't huge rye drinkers, I think this is a nice like gateway
It's like
into it.
adding to our elements.
Yeah.
that we are adding. To
Yeah.
because we really haven't tasted that much.
Mhm.
And we've had some harsher ryes, and this is a more
Yeah.
mellow rye, I think.
Do you all like cocktails in any which way?
Yeah.
I love a cocktail.
Okay. I would try getting some ryes to make cocktails out of, because I find that rye whiskeys make the best cocktails, no matter
That
what
tracks.
you're using.
Yeah.
Brian
Like
always
a-
likes a higher proof bourbon
Mhm.
when we make cocktails. So
Yeah.
Higher proof rye is even better because it stands up better and the flavor profile is spicier. So it does this sweet and spicy, because on
Right.
average, a lot
I
of
can see that.
cocktails, you're adding sugar and
Yeah.
water to it primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's very myopic, but an old fashioned, which is kind of the gold standard for cocktails,
Yep.
bitters, which is basically alcoholic sugar that has some weird flavoring depending on what bitters you're using.
Yep.
Or you're adding simple syrup and then you're putting it on ice or putting it in a mixing glass, and then whatever that part's called, dumping it, straining, whatever you want to call it. Either which way, you're watering it down, you're adding sugar to it and other flavorings. So rye stands up better because of that spice.
Well, Brian, I think what we should do, so next time we do our Manhattan bottles, like the pre-bottled ones, we should use a rye in ours.
A rye and a bourbon Manhattan, or just a rye?
A bottled, we'll buy a bottled one.
Okay.
And then we'll make one with a rye.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
and a lot of times with the Manhattan, because with Manhattan, a lot of times that vermouth
sweetness, can
will overpower the bourbon as well. So definitely can see. That's why I always go with a higher proof. Like my standard to make a Manhattan with, if I'm using bourbon, is Knob Creek, because it's 100 proof and it's a pretty robust bourbon. So you get that flavor
it's a
coming
bit
through.
Earthier too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that nuttiness.
All right, Steven. So we got some time if you do.
I have all the time in the world. The
So
wife's
after
car
the
broke
Jeep.
down, so she took my car to work. So I got nowhere to go after
So you're
this.
stranded.
Yeah, I'm stranded at home.
All right. So if
Do
I
you
was
want
going
to do the other two?
maybe, both. Yeah. Okay.
Let's let her rip. Here, I'll go grab
All
the
right.
bottles.
So the North Rim single malt and the Infinity Cask. Barrel Shredword says Barrel Seagrass is a fantastic rye too. Different world for most everything. I see it a lot. I haven't grabbed anything Barrel yet. We do have a Stellum bourbon that we have not cracked yet, and I know that comes from Barrel. But we haven't grabbed any Barrel. Barrel's another one where it's like those kind of start around $80. And for me, I've got to be able to try it first before I go and buy an $80 bottle. Oh, there's Stellum Rye.
The Stellum Rye, if you're looking for something that makes like good Manhattans, this makes really good Manhattans. Sorry, I don't make a lot of Manhattans. I'm more of my go-to whiskey cocktail is a Sazerac.
Okay.
Because it's basically an old fashioned with the absinthe rinse.
What's the proof of that Stellum Rye?
116.
Okay. Oh wow, that's even so. The bourbon I have here is 114.98, so practically 115.
The bourbon's also good. I like the bourbon.
You can see I haven't cracked yet. I actually got this on the recommendation that Ben and Greg. You can tell I watched them a lot. Ben and Greg actually did a review of this a few months back, and I was like, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." So I grabbed one, and we just have not.
Well, I know we've talked about the wine.
Yeah, it looks like a wine bottle. Yeah.
Barrel's one of the few companies that blends with Dickel properly, in my opinion, because not a lot of companies who source from Tennessee, I like their stuff, but Barrel is one of the few that have done it well. Like they send me samples every time they have a limited edition, and I haven't bought their most recent bourbon because I'm in the process of saving money. But ever since they've been sending me like the little 100 milliliter samples to do reviews of, I usually just try them and then I go out and buy the bottles if I think it's good enough. And I've done that. They've sent me 3 so far, and I've bought 2 out of 3.
That's awesome.
And the third one I want to buy, it's just I don't have the money to be spending $90 on another bourbon. That's just like, I mean, it's a really good freaking bourbon, and if I got it for free, I would love to. But $90 is $90.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, that's two bottles of something else that's probably really good. So Okay, so we're gonna do should we do the single malt or the infinity cask?
Okay, are we doing one or are we finishing both of them?
What say you, lady?
Because the single malt is very light, it's subtle.
All right.
So at this point, everything's going to get kind of washed over it. I mean, it's 45%, and then the infinity cask is 60%.
60.
Yeah, so let's start.
So we should start lower and then go.
Let's start with that.
Yeah.
All right. So this is North Rim, as in the Grand Canyon. I'm assuming.
Yeah. So
Look
all
at
of our
you.
stuff is based off of
Give me a baby
geographical things inside of like the Arizona area. So Peralta, that's like a mountain range hiking trail. We have a smoked one that I didn't send you because I'm not a huge fan of it. It's just a 4-grain American whiskey that we smoke. It's usually just a lower proof offering. I don't think we've ever done a cask strength offering. I'm not a huge fan of this. Blue Ridge, I think this is I think it's the rim that this is based off of. I don't know. I'm not.
Okay.
I need to hike more.
He's not a geologist, for God's sake.
I ain't no geographer or whatever. And then Lost Dutchman, that's like the Dutchman miners or whatever.
Okay.
And then this one is based off of,
the Dutch were in New York, not
North Rim.
The Grand Canyon.
All right.
I will say this in full disclosure. I am not a American single malt fan. I've had a couple. They've been bad experiences. So.
Okay. Then I have some other things I will hand deliver you. So this one's very different from an average American single malt. This one's going to be a lot more subtle and a lot more kind of vanilla-y and sweet. So this is finished for 33.
Tastes like an Irish whiskey.
34. Yeah. So this is finished for 34 months in ex-rye casks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be very sweet, a little bit on the youthful side. And then on the back end, right towards the finish, it gets slightly peppery, which like really kind of redeems it for me.
Okay. So here's what I will say. The last single malt I had, Sean at Whiskey Wars sent us a Balcones single malt. And all I could think of when I drank it was Band-Aids and iodine. This has none of those off notes. This just tastes like a whiskey. And
it's very sweet.
Yeah, I think it's actually, it kind of is reminiscent of a Scotch with a sweet touch to it.
Yeah. And what I will say is this is our first batch of this. This was like 4 barrels that were all kind of adequate. And when we blended them together, they actually came together pretty well. Yeah. And then we have one more barrel that was this mash bill or this type of grain. So it's not the mash bill because it's 100% malted barley, but we changed the grains. And then the updated grain bill that we're using, they're so much better. I mean, I've pulled them from the cask, but we were doing a blending project and I was trying to make some crappy whiskey work where we could release it as a limited. So the Infinity cask. So this is an annual release where we basically just fill up the cask with like, I think it's the back ends of it. And it usually has the quinoa whiskey in it. So it kind of makes it an exciting thing. It just went super funky. I was trying to blend out the funk, so it got to a point where we could release it and people are actually going to buy it. What we're going to do with that to be determined. But so I use this as an excuse to pull from all of our single malt casks because those are the ones that are kind of coming up to maturity right now. I think those are going to be the next ones we start pulling. And one of them is very okay. And it's the same mash bill as this. I mean, it's significantly older than this stuff. So it's better. But the other ones, they're incredible. So I'm so excited once we start doing that because I'm a huge American single malt fan and I'm a little, I don't say underappreciated with this. I mean, I like the bottle. I mean, it's not this low just because I work there. Like I drink it and all. It's nice. It's easy. It's just, it's not as exciting or it is as adventurous as a lot of our other whiskeys are.
It's
like
definitely
a lot of our stuff is kind of interesting and fun. And this is kind of
Steven, wait, I got a question for Steven.
Okay.
Do you ever encounter when you sample stuff and you're like, oh my God, I hate this. How do I tell my boss that this is dog shit? What do you do? What do you say?
I mean, again, I'm very new to the production side, so I've yet to do that. The only time we've experienced this whole like, hey, these are bad, has been when I was told these were bad, and then I was handed samples, and it was like, these are god awful. So right now we have two that we're trying to work on. So it's the Infinity. So we do these in batches. So this is Infinity 2. This one's interesting and fun and weird as hell. Infinity 3, it's unserviceable at the moment. Again, still working on that. That's an ongoing project. And we have another. We have this collaboration that we do with a lot of during the COVID times, the times we don't like to speak of. We had one of the local breweries, I think their beers went bad and they couldn't sell them. So we took them because there's not too much different between the beer making process and the mashing process. I mean, there's some different steps that you take and whatnot, but there's not too many things. So we took a few IPAs, we then distilled those and we cast them. So far we have one cask left and it is just funky. It's like rotten apples and like funk, and it just, we tried blending the Infinity 3 with the IPA cask, and I'm like, these are bad. It's like cash strength, rotten apples and funk, and it's just
Oof.
Again,
that's no good. Got a couple people speaking in favor of the New Riff Balboa Rye. I've had
a sample. Fantastic.
I've not had the rye, but I really like New Riff.
It reminded me a lot of the Redwood, where it's nice and sweet. It's really flavorful. It actually is very, very good. Yeah. New Riff single barrel ryes. I don't think I've seen any of those, but
those are
I do like
picks.
I like their single barrel bourbons. That's for sure. Okay, last one is the Infinity.
Now things are going to get
this
weird.
Craziness.
Oh boy.
Okay. Man, I wish it said in it, because this one's a little bit before my time as far as what it is. I believe so. This is a blend of a bourbon that's a different bourbon mash bill from our Peralta bourbon.
Okay.
So it's not our traditional mash bill. I think this is more stereotypical without the chocolate malt in it. And it's also 100% quinoa whiskey. So where typically you'll see a lot of, companies and whatnot, they'll distill things and then they'll blend post cask. This is kind of like a blending in cask of different distillation runs, if you will. Okay. And so it's a unknown quantity. At least to myself, I'm sure it's known to our master distiller, but as far as I'm aware, it's a bourbon that's not our traditional mash bill, and then a quinoa whiskey, which is where you're getting that green chili.
Okay, so they are mixing the distillate into the barrel, and this stuff ages together. Then, okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the Infinity Cask annual release is. I think it's kind of the ends of whatever we can fit into a cask, put into a barrel together.
That's a pepper right there.
It is funky.
It's earthy as hell.
A dirt pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a dirty pepper.
This is an experience of a whiskey to me. This is not. I have had this for about 6 months, and all of these samples have gone out to other channels. Or I've been like, hey, bro, try this. And I'll pour myself a glass and I'll try it with him. But I have not gravitated towards this by myself at all, because this is just a weird, funky distilling experiment. And it's an annual release we do where it's just like, hey, you want to try something weird? And I absolutely love it for the fact that it's very much so in the vein of like, let's push the envelope, but also I'm like, maybe we shouldn't.
I give you guys credit for going out there. I mean, it's definitely like if I took a pepper out of my garden and mixed it up, and then I mean, It's got a
That's
distinctive
100%
flavor.
that. It's green chilies.
Yeah.
It is definitely so. It's definitely earthy,
Mhm.
but there's nothing in this that's like, oh my god, this is like swill. Like it's
No, it's
yeah,
not offensive.
I think it's
just
a kind of a cool whiskey,
It's distinctive.
but I
It's
think you're
not bad.
right.
It's weird.
Yeah, and I
It's
think you're
weird.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and Steven's right where it's like,
not like I'm gonna throw up or something.
yeah,
like
no,
that.
but this is the
It's
kind of
just
whiskey
really-
where you're like, hey, try
it's
this.
special.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
This
Special.
is not a like, oh, let's kill a half a bottle of this sitting around chatting. This is like, all right, I got something crazy. Try this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where this one is a lot less funky than batch 3 is. So batch 3 right now, that's what I'm trying to blend it out. It went a little bit too earthy, a little bit
Yeah.
too funky.
Now,
So-
do they do is this infinity bottle or barrel? Do they do something a little different every time around?
I'll be honest, I don't know enough. We tried finding the mash bill because so right now the master distiller, he's out of town. He's going to be out of town for probably another month or so.
Okay.
So me and the other part-time employee who's kind of like our smither, which is in the whiskey industry, that's the guy who basically proofs down the whiskey. It's called
Okay.
smithing.
Yep.
Evidently, again, I'm learning all this stuff right now.
Me
But
too.
our smither and
I
our
thought a smithy was something else.
well, he told me
Smither.
he is our smither. So we tried finding the mash bill because I was working with him trying to like blend it out, and I was like, dude, what even is in this? Because it's weird. And we kind of tore apart all of our little paperwork section, and we couldn't find the mash bill of whatever that cask was because
Mystery bourbon.
I was trying to put like a pinpoint on like why it's weird. This one, it's easy because it's only 2.
Yeah.
So we know it's a bourbon, which is just like a traditional bourbon mash bill, and it's a quinoa whiskey, and that pepperiness and the earthiness comes from the quinoa.
I'm
Yeah,
almost getting
yeah.
like a dill pickle.
What?
I don't know.
We're
I am
releasing
not.
100% quinoa whiskey later on this year, so I'll have to send you. I'll have to hand deliver you guys a sample of that.
Yes,
Please
that would be
do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I gotta say, I mean, listen, you can come across a lot of craft distilleries
Mhm.
that are just putting out really youthful,
Mhm.
unfinished,
Crap.
like garbage. Yeah.
Ooh, jinx.
And I think this, I will tell you, it seems to me Adventurous Stills is making some neat stuff.
I really like.
The Peralta,
Yeah.
the Peralta
Peralta.
bourbon was
Okay.
That
ridiculous.
was my favorite.
And
I'll
I
hit
like
you all up when we're releasing a new cash strength
Yeah.
one.
absolutely.
before
That
it
might
goes
have been their
public, I'll
least
hit you up.
adventurous one, Brian, but we're traditional.
It was the fullest flavored one though,
Yeah.
for
It
sure.
was
I like
fast.
that. I liked the Syrah cask. I liked the Dutchman, the Cherry Bomber Eye, and I
Bomber Eye.
liked the Blue
Mhm.
Ridge. Those are my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
We'll be releasing another batch of the cherry bomb coming up soon too. We might proof it down, but I'll hit you up too.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like to be able to get you guys some hand delivered
Right.
on behalf of me, not the distillery, legally speaking. But yeah,
Sounds good.
we are also blessed in being in the Southwest where things do age a little rapidly, because for us, like 2 to 3 years is like doable, where it's like, if you're up in, you guys are in, is it Kentucky or Tennessee?
No, we're in New York.
New York. Okay. Yeah. So even worse in that sense, because I have a 7-year-old, oh man, what is it? Let me find the bottle. It's a 77 whiskey. I think at Breckenridge. I think
Mhm.
that's in New York, single malt, I believe, or that. And oh man, Taconic. I know
Okay.
they're in New York as well.
Yeah, they're downstate, but yeah.
It's, you have to like age that for some serious time. Like you can't
Mhm.
get away with 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
2 to 3 years is not good for you guys.
No, and
Where it's
and
like
we've
for
got-
us, 4
we've
years
got-
was too much.
Yeah. And we've got some distilleries who try to get away with it, and
It doesn't
not,
work out.
not good. Yeah.
Yeah, there have been some, like if it's over 3 to 4 years old, and it's not in a super hot climate, I'm cool with it. But anything under that, I'm typically, and this is just youthful. Like I have a buddy who's in Hawaii right now, and he sent me stuff from, I think it's, Pelili Road or whatever.
Mhm.
It's 6-month-old corn, so it's 90% corn and 10% malted barley. And
Mhm.
I like the bones of the whiskey because I can tell from like the grains that like there's some potential there, but I'm like, it needs at least 3 to 4 years old more.
Yeah.
Like it is way too
Yeah.
freaking young.
And that's the problem when you're dealing with craft distilleries a lot. Like
Mhm.
they just have to get it out there, and sometimes
survival.
they make some bad decisions based on that. So
Yeah.
it's too bad.
I'm also
Uh,
coming into this at like 6-7 years because we started actually releasing in 2016, I think. So that
Okay.
would be 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So this is after 7 years of running
Right.
the business. So obviously, I've heard things weren't always this good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they've had some time to really
Yeah.
take the time to age it. Yeah, for sure. Real quick, Bourbon Note Ben, getting ready to head out. First shameless promotion. We're only 17 subs away from 2,000.
Yay!
Come
yes!
on, go over there.
So
and
anybody
subscribe.
here,
17 subs.
or anybody who watches this on the
Dang.
replay, go subscribe to the Bourbon Note.
They're killing it.
Yeah, they are. They're a couple of
We
great
know
dudes.
how we like to look and check those boxes
Yeah.
off.
Yep. And they are great
Danny and
dudes.
Greg are awesome.
Yeah.
They've been super
Yes.
supportive of us. And so if
I've
you
got
are
my coasters, I've got my
Yep.
lifesavers.
our Butter Rum
Yeah.
Lifesavers, if you have not subscribed to them, please go do that. They are
They're
great
awesome.
guys and they make great content. And Lauren is the current Bourbon Note trivia champion.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my
King of the Mountain.
my rematch.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for someone to challenge me.
I will challenge you after
it
I do
hasn't
some
come in.
reviewing.
There
Excuse
you
me,
go.
sir?
Oh, Steven,
Excuse me?
Steven will challenge you.
There it is. There it is. It's going to be like WrestleMania of bourbon trivia.
Also, side
I
note,
will be studying.
plug.
Yes.
If you're in here watching,
Yes.
y'all need to go subscribe to Bourbon School because
Oh.
they are at like 800 and oh man, I just looked.
We're at
832.
832.
Let's
Yeah.
get them to 1,000 so they can
That
start.
would be
making
awesome.
stuff you
That would be
spend.
awesome.
You know,
Dandy
you'll
Rose,
eventually
thank
be
you.
able to make enough a month to pay for a bottle of whiskey, and that's all that freaking matters. It'll never pay for the filming equipment. That's
That's
all gonna just take a hit to the pocketbook, but maybe
Especially since
you'll
we
get
just
an
bought these
extra
mics.
bourbon.
It's an investment.
Yeah, my wife always says when I'm like, "Hey, we got to buy this bottle for her," she's like, "Go ahead, it's an investment." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Do you really think it is?"
She's lovely.
But yeah. And also, everybody out there, please subscribe to Steven at Tipsy Whiskey
Thank you.
Shenanigans. He is awesome. And
Knowledgeable.
yes, knowledgeable. Steven, what do you got coming up?
I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I know so July, I have a sponsorship that's actually going into play. So I'm releasing so far like my favorite bottles of 2023. Although I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly where I'm at with that because I haven't bought that much whiskey this year since I'm going on a huge trip to Thailand, to Japan, and I got married this year. So like finances aren't really going into the channel. This
Yeah.
is the only year so far that the channel's actually probably been in the green. If
Oh,
I
wow. Good for
actually, looked at the finances of the channel. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really have an idea of what I'm doing for my Friday video. I know I just got the ECBP, the 523 or whatever,
523, yeah.
B523. So I'm excited. I have not opened that. It's literally taking everything I have to wait till tomorrow to open that up. Especially now after going through quite a few whiskeys, I'm a little drunk and I want to try it, but I'm waiting to pop it for initial reactions for the video tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll be going live for that.
We'll look forward to seeing that because I love the A123. We did not love the B523, but I'm interested to see what other people think of it. So I'm not trying to sour you on it.
I didn't have the A batch this year, so I have the luck of getting about 2 out of 3 of the batches for some reason.
Okay. Nice.
Like I mean, I'll be honest, I don't freaking hunt anymore. I pretty much just go to a store and if it's there, it's there. Like I went into a store on Sunday afternoon and I was like, I thought that was their private barrel. And then he started talking. I was like, what's that batch? And he was like, oh, it's, and I was like, okay, give me that. I'm
Yeah.
leaving here with that. Cause that sounds like a freaking review right there. And
Yeah.
also those, if you're going to collect any whiskey, those are the ones to collect, at least currently,
Yeah, for sure.
as far as
Just
the allocated stuff goes.
Gandy Road says he just subscribed, Steven. So you
Oh,
grabbed
hell yeah.
another
Thank
subscriber
you.
tonight. Gandy's a good
Thank you.
guy, good follower,
Gandy
good
Road.
subscriber of our channel. So real quick, Bourbon Junkies are live now. So if you want to head over there, tell them that Bourbon School sent you. And at 9 o'clock, 21090 is going to be streaming, and at 11, Big Vic. So you got a full night of bourbon streams if you are so inclined, guys.
Very nice.
Yeah. So we want to thank, first of all, Stephen, thank you for joining us tonight and walking us through all these samples. It was awesome. And I think Adventurous Stills is doing some pretty cool stuff
Yes,
for sure.
for sure. I really, really loved
This one was
The Peralta. The
Peralta.
Peralta bourbon
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Oh,
yeah.
my favorite.
Tell them to make more of that, Stephen.
We're definitely doing that. Don't you worry.
And
we'll connect after this.
absolutely. And for all of you who tuned in tonight, thank you so much. If you're watching it on the replay, thank you. Please go subscribe to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. Subscribe to our channel, Bourbon School.
Yeah, go subscribe. What are you doing? Hit the bell notification.
Yes, absolutely. And Bourbon Note, they've been real good to us. And so go subscribe to them. There's so many great whiskey tube channels out there. Make sure you go give them a sub and some views and a like. And we appreciate you all. And we are 168 away from 1,000.
Let's make it happen.
LFG. Let's go, people. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great night. And we've got Friday. I don't even know which video we're going to put out. We did like 5 today, so we'll decide later which one we're going to put out.
I think it's your Old Forester.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe Old Forester Single Barrel we'll review.
That's the one to do.
Yeah, it's such a great bottle.
The producer says it's Old Forester.
Yes, exactly.
She
And
knows.
we do have a bourbon hunting one out today. A couple of cool stores around our area, so check that out. And thanks, everybody. Cheers, and have a good evening.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Just hit end stream.
Okay.